Good morning, and just so everyone knows, I've already spoken with some of our colleges like University of Florida. They got a great football stadium, the Swamp, that's not used on Sundays. So if an NFL team needs a place to land, we could work that out too.
What about where I went my freshman and sophomore year, Florida State?
Look, I haven't spoken to them yet, but it's a great, it's an iconic stadium, and I think we would want to be very helpful if we could. So I think that things like that, getting sports back, getting some of the things back that we're used to is really important from a psychological perspective, a confidence perspective. And so I'm a big proponent of that. I think it's great that these leagues want to move forward, and I think there's no question we can do this safely.
So, Governor, you know the stats. You haven't gotten the full credit yet, but the Florida strategy, like South Carolina and Georgia, the numbers are pretty strong, especially when it comes to helping seniors stay safe and stay alive. Give me the four principles of successfully opening in this pandemic environment.
Well, the first is you still are in the fight against the virus in terms of safety, and you're focusing those efforts where the threat really exists, which is in our senior population. So we did very early with the nursing homes. We restricted visitation, and we prevented hospitals from discharging COVID-positive patients back into nursing homes. That's like a tinderbox if you let that happen.
Yes.
We've distributed 10 million masks and other types of PPE just to long-term care facilities. We've got National Guard going in and testing 50 different teams. And then I got a mobile lab that goes around to different communities and tests at long-term care facilities. And then, of course, we're continuing to message to our senior citizens who aren't in those facilities. If you're 65 and over, you're at increased risk. Avoid crowds and make sure you're being careful about your contacts. But in Florida, and I think throughout the country, I mean, we're seeing 85% of the fatalities are ages 65 and over. And so as we reopen business, as we do things safely, we need to stay in the fight and protect those who are the most vulnerable to this virus.
Which is advice we've heard from the experts. Isolate the vulnerable and then social distance, and things can happen. Like down there in Florida, I saw on Axios, new cases are down 14% from the previous week. And Governor, I don't have to tell you, it's already hot in Florida. And over the last couple of months, we wonder if it's seasonal. Like the warmer it gets, the more likely the virus is to get tamped down. We know that the sunlight kills it almost immediately. Have you found, or do your experts talk a little bit about how Florida's unique, almost subtropical climate has helped you in this?
Well, I think what we know is that this is a virus that is highly transmissible, and when you're in close, repeated contact inside enclosed environments. Now, the flip side with Florida is we got a lot of air conditioning. So if you're in those types of environments, that's more risky. We've always believed, I certainly always believed, that the open air is just simply a less transmissible environment. I think the studies have borne that out around the country. There just aren't massive outbreaks that have been linked to a lot of outdoor activity. And so that's why I got a lot of flack from the Acela media, because I didn't want to close every beach in Florida. Well, the communities that kept beaches open, they did social distancing as they were required to do. They have some of the lowest rates, places like Brevard County, very low death rate. And so I believe outdoor activity is low risk. I think people should be doing it. We kept golf courses open. We had fishing going on the whole time. People could boat. We really wanted to have people be able to do activities in ways that were safe. And clearly, for you to be out in an open field or doing things like this, that is safe. It's less risky for the virus. So I think it's less about necessarily the weather per se, but just when you have the opportunity to be in good weather, you're going to be less likely to be in those enclosed environments, which is really, I think, where we've seen this virus really spread like wildfire.
Governor, in Wisconsin, the governor there decided to do stay-at-home orders, and a lot of people were complaining and protesting there. The Supreme Court of Wisconsin just struck that down. Do you think some of these governors that are just doing a one-size-fits-all for the entire state, you think they're being too strict and going too far?
Well, I don't think any governor has the authority to restrict anyone unless there's a direct relationship to combating this virus. And if you look around the country, clearly there have been examples of really draconian, arbitrary restrictions that have nothing to do with public health. Like, you can't plant a seed in your front yard, in your garden. You can't
Right.
walk around the neighborhood with your daughter or something like that. So some of this stuff, I think, has devolved into social control. I think absolutely it's
Right.
gotten out of hand. Here's the thing. It's less effective to do that. In Florida, we did not do that. We were reasonable. We trusted the people to act appropriately. And we've had better results than some of the states, that you've seen. So I think that, yes, there have absolutely been oversteps. And I think legislatures should really look at this as we go forward. You need to be able to act. There's certain things that need to be done, but you're not a dictator. You don't have unlimited authority, and people do have rights.
I was shocked that the Cal State system made an announcement in May for September. There's going to be almost no in-classroom learning, all going to be remote. In May, not even trying to open up in the fall. Governor DeSantis, have you committed to opening up universities when you can, which you're in control of, and schools in the fall?
Yes, so I've spoken to some of our universities already. Why would you give up now? Why would you do that? Of course you've got a plan to come back. I think we'll have people on campus. I think that's the way it should be. And we have an opportunity, too, because those folks, those students are low risk. So you're able to do this in ways that can be safe, and I trust our universities will be able to do that. But yeah, to have more distance learning, it's not the same at a university level, and we need to get the kids back on campus for sure.
Governor, Florida is one of America's #1 tourist destinations. A lot of people have destination weddings. My daughter was going to have one on May 1st. It obviously didn't happen. Now she's thinking about August. What do big events in families' lives that might involve 50, 100, 150 people look like in August in the state of Florida?
Well, Steve, I can't give any guarantees, but we obviously want to get there where people are able to live life. I mean, that's the goal here. I think the first mission for the country, including in Florida, has been accomplished of flattening the curve. Our hospitals weren't overwhelmed. We know we were able to handle this with our medical capacity. So now we want to go to the next stage, start having more economic activity. And so I'd like to get there. The president's guidelines, I think for phase 3, you're able to have some of those group activities again. So we absolutely want to get there. But we're going to focus, we're doing a very safe, smart, step-by-step approach based on the data, based on what we're seeing, and I think that's what folks want to see. But I do want to get there, because when you think about what's happened with this mitigation, all these little things in life that we don't necessarily talk about in terms of infections or not, weddings, graduations, all these things that are really important moments in people's lives that have had to be put aside. And you live life to be able to do things like that. So we need to get that back.
That's so true. I know a young girl that's out here in my neighborhood, and they announced that no graduation. She said her mom said she hasn't come out of her room all day. She's so upset. And the parents are affected too, because we raise our kids. We want to experience those events with our kids as well. So it's affecting a big group of people. And Steve, I do hope she gets to have that wedding in August, because we would all love to go to Florida too.
I know.
Okay, Governor, let me play this soundbite for you. The president was on with Maria yesterday talking about vaccines. Listen to this.
I think we're going to have a vaccine by the end of the year. We're doing very well with the vaccine. We're mobilizing our military on the basis that we do have a vaccine. It's a massive job to give this vaccine. Our military is now being mobilized. So at the end of the year, we're going to be able to give it to a lot of people very, very rapidly. We'll focus on elderly. We're going to focus on nursing home and senior citizen centers. Because that's really, if you look at it, that is a very vulnerable group. It's a terrible thing, but so we're going to be focused on that.
She recorded it yesterday, Governor, and the full thing will run today, this morning. What's your reaction to that?
Well, look, I think they're putting all hands on deck for it. I applaud the president. I think that's the right approach. I obviously hope we get a vaccine soon. I don't know that that's 100%, but let's hope we do it. But they're putting the pieces in place so that they do have an effective one. It can be distributed. So they're putting their money where their mouth is. And I think that that's really good and potentially could benefit a lot of Americans.
And keep your eye on Shanghai Disney, because if they were able to pull it off in China, maybe you guys can
Yeah,
pull it off
good
in
point.
Orlando, and that would really bring, and Universal, and that would really bring a lot of people back. It's an affordable vacation for so many Americans. Governor DeSantis, congratulations. You took a risk, you were out on a limb, and it's paying off, and the people of Florida, I'm sure, are grateful for it.